Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, I wanted to talk about some interesting information that we have coming out of Kingdom 40, which is TFS's kingdom. TFS is an OG alliance. They have been in the game for a while. They originally started in Kingdom 23 after doing a merge between some alliances, I believe in around the 1+ season. I think there was like Jedi, DX, some other people. I don't know if ANCS at that time was involved. But I know the story that we had heard when we had done that interview with Sod a while ago was like Sod and Jason were basically talking and discussing, and if anyone else might have been involved in that as well. And it kind of came together in a shortish period and decided on doing a merge and kind of forming TFS, and obviously it kind of being known in its popularity as it is today. And so there was news that came out of the kingdom, and as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you throw us out because I've said a lot. Thanks. Is that we now know that there was a announcement that was either leaked, found this on the COD Gen Chat here, of them stating that, and we got a couple things to show you today too. This is from Jason, posted, I imagine, a number of days ago, or maybe it might have been even a while ago, saying leadership is aware many people are planning on leaving / migrating out shortly, which is, to be fair, it's not anything new that you have people that are leaving a kingdom or migrating from one kingdom to another. However, what is and can be interesting is when you usually see a large or decent sized amount of people that are leaving top kingdoms, especially when that kingdom is not leaving to do a rebuild, when if they're not leaving to start over, if the kingdom has just, fallen apart and now it's just a free-for-all fire sale and people are kind of going their separate ways. I believe that was kind of somewhere like the UHA situation that we had covered before. And right, so that part is always going to be interesting to me, because I love being able to find out like what was the reason, what kind of led up to this, and then what are the good takeaways, right? What can we learn? What can we educate ourselves on for kingdoms, other kingdoms that might be in similar situations, or maybe to avoid certain situations, right? So there's always got to be a little bit of a learning opportunity there as well. As we continue, for leadership to make proper plans for both recruitment and Road League, we need anyone who is leaving, please react with an X emo. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I also just don't think that everyone will react to that, and the people that do are some kind gents and or gals. There was no penalty or hard feelings. We just need to plan accordingly if you plan, signed up for, or considered in Road League. And again, I think that's nice to say as well, putting something in there that says, look, there's not going to be any repercussions. We're not going to go around and zero people, right? Just kind of having a little hand raise or a head count would be lovely. So now we get to, which I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, how much power left? So I can give you an average, an estimate, right? From the data that we pulled on around 7/6. So this would have been a month, and we'll just say a month and a little less than a month and a half ago, right? So we're looking at about 40, 41 days ago. TFS came in at a top 300 power. This is minusing 15 million accounts and below at around 27 billion, right? So this number is probably a little bit higher than that if you're factoring in total kingdom power, which would account for every kingdom. However, if we go and we look in game, right, for where they are now, if we zoom in and we look at their power, you can see they're at 17.4 billion. And I don't know if the people in NFS are a part of it or not. So you can say maybe an average 18 billion, right? If some of them are. Again, if you just want to inflate that a bit. So you're going from 27 to 18, that's about a 9 billion power exit, right? And you look at the group, if we click, right, it's 178 over 200. Maybe there's some farms that could be in there that are maybe filling some spots, but currently 22 spots that are vacant. Now, again, like I've stated, that is a decent bit of power. That's a little bit less, I believe, than when the original Echo split, where Sod left with people in 23 and went to 60. So this is not to say that this is just a small group, right? This apparently, if you're talking about 9 billion, what? I mean, that could be 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 players, maybe 60 to 80 players, give or take, right? Just depending on power level. If it is that or not, like that could be, it seems like that's a decent amount. And so let me show you some people that I went through. So I just kind of looked around. I didn't go through everyone, but I looked at some people that were still in the kingdom that had low merits, and it interested me for a few reasons, right? So let me show you a couple here. So number one, so this is toxic. His account, he apparently went to 100. His thing says me next, thanks, which I just think is freaking hilarious. Now, I don't know the status of Toxic, but he went there, very low merits, right? 3,643 for the season before he migrated out. So didn't participate. Okay, interesting. There's someone else that's in 40 called Arcos. I'm out soon. I imagine that's probably someone, right? He was still in 40. I think when I took these screenshots, I believe it was yesterday on the 16th of August. So that would have been Saturday. 61,000 merits, right? So not a lot. Okay, very interesting. We got Code Fire, which again, I don't know if this is a farm or not, but I don't think it is. It's 114 million power, but 286,000 merits. Okay. We got Sunny, 0 merits, who, and I believe Sunny was an R4 before in TFS, or at least at some point, if I recall that correctly. But again, was sitting in NFS at the time, 112 million power. You got Mew, who is allianceless. I have to imagine that's probably someone that may be leaving, or just, I don't know, maybe they stopped playing. I'm not sure. 111 million power, but 297,000 merits. You got Thor, allianceless, 105 million power, 0 merits. Darkness, who I have had a couple conversations with Darkness when I used to go and hang out in the TFS Discord. I don't know if some of their voice chats are still gated or not, but I remember I used to go and hang out with them, and I used to talk to Darkness, but always had good conversations. But 102 million power, 8,800 merits. Okay. Swift filler demo, 94 million power, 572,000 merits. And then obviously we know Fluffy, who ended up leaving TFS, joining EIS as well. Now, again, I'm not meaning to show off everyone that left. I really am interested. For me, this is where the interesting angle comes in, which, sure, there are kind of two storylines here that I feel. The first storyline is the one that we highlighted, which is the amount of people that have left, the amount of total power that is left, and more importantly, maybe what happened, right? How many people was it? Was it people in R4 positions? Was it people that were office, that were maybe R3s or rally leads or on-field captains, etc. Right? Like where was some of the drop off, and maybe why? But then the second part for me that I actually think is just as, if not more intriguing, is why is it that there was a number of people that opted, especially for those that could, to not participate in PvP, to what it visually looks like, took either just a giant dump on participating and any amount of PvP engagement. Because especially for people like Toxic, and I think Fluffy's a different story because Fluffy did participate. But for someone like Toxic, we covered this, right? Toxic and some of the other pay-to-win leadership left the pay-to-win kingdom and went to TFS. So from what I believe, they'd only been there at least one season. So you go there, and then what happens from like that recruitment portion of you getting recruited there and or just wanting to go there? You stay for a season. A number of people, including Toxic and anyone else that we showed off and anyone else that maybe we didn't show off, chose or whatever to not participate in any amount of fighting. And then some of those people, at least from what we know at the moment and what we've shown, have left and or maybe stopped playing. Who knows? That to me is interesting. Because either something so egregious or so bad, or, I mean, because this is the thing, man, it's like Toxic fights. Like I've never heard anyone come out and say Toxic is not willing to fight. He's just baiting. He's just baiting and stat padding all of his kills. His S like heals. Like, no, I've never heard that. And I've only ever had good relationships with him. I believe with Ruby too as well. There, who used to be in Pay to Win, and so I've never heard anything like that. At least, again, in my experience, I'll say. So for me to see something like that, especially when I believe Toxic was the strongest player there in TFS at the time, right? I think he's sitting at almost like a 470, 475 million account at peak power. Why is it that this individual and or others opted to not participate in the KvK pretty much at all? And if you go and you look on the official COD Discord in the Gen Chat, you will see some people that were kind of joking about this situation with Toxic, where they were saying, "Oh yeah, he didn't want to fight. He's gonna come back in the final zone. He wanted to give the other people a chance." Okay, interesting words that were stated there. So for me, that I'm curious on that, and I want to point out, as I always do when I talk about these, my curiosity is purely from a wanting to understand, right? It's not to be like, oh yeah, let's degrade the kingdom, let's degrade the alliance. No, never. And I even said this in the beginning, as I always usually state in these types of videos. For me, it's purely educational. I just love knowing. Now, again, if there's anyone out there that is familiar with the situation, if you'd like to share, maybe possibly an interview, but again, I would at least love to be able to hear some details, of course, for those that are willing and comfortable to share on maybe just what happened, what went on, why did the people leave, why was there no participation basically from some players that could have participated and had strong enough counts to participate, what went down? For me, that is more curious. That is more of an interesting storyline than the people who migrated out, even though I think that could be interesting as well, just to kind of hear from people. Because for me, I look at TFS, I look at Kingdom 40, as much as I look at other alliances and kingdoms, and I'm like, okay, this is a top kingdom. Like, let's not also diminish the work and the effort that Jason, the team, and TFS have done when they opted to do their initial rebuild, leaving 23. This was after the Echo split. SOD went to 60. ANCS ended up coming in with Spartan, and they stayed for a while, basically refilling that power for the most part. And then they end up opting to leave. TFS does, so they take their people and they go to 40 to basically do a rebuild. And they have really taken this kind of slow and steady turtle is winning the race over the rabbit or the hare in being selective on who they're bringing in. And I don't think it's any stretch to say that they have been successful in that. That's just a fact. But now you're hit with, right, a big migration departure. And I at least like to cover these things. I like to try and find out like the why, to maybe understand and to be able to explain and or educate to the community. Because for me, I love the management side of kingdom builders in the game, right outside of the playing side, right? And so for me, these parts I think are so vitally important to the health and the sustainability of the game's ecosystem, because I think a lot of people take for granted and maybe don't appreciate or value the management side of the game, and where they probably don't think or may not think that it's not as important as all the other areas or the playing side of the game. And I'm here to tell you today that the management side of the game is by far the most important, because it dictates more than you know on the health and sustainability and replayability of not only the game, but the players who are participating in these alliances and in these kingdoms. And it's one of the reasons why you see me always talk about it so much, because I'm just a true believer and proponent of we need to be able to assist our management across the game, because these people are basically just volunteering their time. They put in a lot of work. And I know this because I have done this and used to do this firsthand. So it's very near and dear to my heart, is basically what I'm trying to say. So in short, yeah, again, those are my two big questions for the situation. Maybe some people will reach out and we can do a follow-up on this. If you're someone who knows a little bit more, even if you're not necessarily willing to hit me up in DMs, which you're more than welcome to on Discord, or you can always reach out to me in-game as well. What is my ID here? I'll just skadoosh this over here. Can I do a little click, and then a little flicky flick. There we go. Here's my ID, right? 284-2922. I always respond to messages on my main-ish is what I say, because I'm still in 65. I haven't left it. Right? True OG for 65 on this account, even though the kingdom's pretty much deadish. But if anyone wants to message me in-game, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, please feel free to reach out to me on Discord, because again, I'll always respond there. Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think on this. Is this like a non-issue for people? It's like, okay, look, man, people migrated out, not that big of a deal, boss. Or no, this is interesting. I do think that there are some potential storylines here that I would actually like to hear about. Right? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That is going to do it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.